all ages. The Nerdy Man Room Show proudly brings you Cards Subject to Change with Hassel, where we bring you the what-ifs of professional wrestling. This week we got a heck of a show for you guys, as we got what if the new Age Outlaws had jumped to WCW in 1999. Now, for those of you with a benefit of flash photography memory, you may have known 99 was a bit of an odd year in both companies. While they were both experiencing a massive boom, they seemed to both of them been throwing a lot of shit at the wall, seeing what was sticking, just really not knowing what to do with what they have. WCW more so than the WWF, you know, especially with Vince Russo coming into WCW and just shock TV or whatever. But what if? What if? Because on the WWF side of things, let's just be honest, DX had been running wild since 1997. So by 99, they kind of didn't know where else to go with them. Let's just be honest. They did not have thought out plan like they did with the Bloodline, where it was able to just keep going even into today. By 99, it was starting to have run its course. We had done seen all the crotch chopping and all the shenanigans that we could see. We started getting a lot of infighting, China siding with people other than Triple H within the group. We started getting weird honorary members like Kane and Tori, infighting amongst them. Singles pushes for both Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. Then, of course, the eventual feud between the two. So, what if? What if they said, you know what? It's time, guys, for us to go. Let's go to a new territory. Let's go to WCW. And as JR would say, let's go learn a new hold. Let's freshen up a bit. So what if? What if the Outlaws had jumped in 1999? Let's dive in, people. Here we go. Let's get to the meat and taters of it. What if? So it's Starrcade, December 27, 1998. As mystery opponents for the vacant tag team championships of the world against Brian Adams and Scott Norton, we get the "Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody." That's right, it's me. It's that DAWG, Jesse Armstrong, and it's him. He's a real badass, Billy Kip, the Outlaws. That's right, people. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let me go ahead and weed this out for you, because I know it's going to be, somebody's going to drop it in the comments, so let me go ahead and put it there now. WCW, Georgia-based company. Very easy to get away with Jesse Armstrong being called the Dog, because Georgia Bulldogs, go Dogs. And you can't trademark badass, because it's just a common statement. And Outlaws, you can't trademark that either. WCW could have skated all the way around this right here, and it would have kind of been the presentation versus with WWF getting away with LOD for the Road Warriors over there. So there you have it. And of course, Jesse is going to be an Armstrong. He is a legacy talent for the NWA WCW. It's his entire family. I'll post a graphic of old Jesse in WCW, but his whole family had wrestled there at one point or another, with Bullet Bob, his father, being actually an amazing performer for the NWA back in the day. So there we go. And Billy, he was Billy Kip in TNA. Why not? Cute Kip or whatever you want to call him. And it would have been easy to go with the low-hanging fruit of the James Gang. I'm actually a fan of the James Gang from TNA. Not so much VKM, but James Gang was pretty cool. But we're going with the Outlaws. Tony Schiavone would lose his shit here. Oh my God, Brain! The Outlaws has arrived. Now, at this point, the Brain will be like, I know, Schiavone. Me and the 2 million other people that tuned in tonight know this as well. Outlaws make short work of the NWO B team and win the tag team championships of the world. The Dog does the announcement as instead of David Penzer. That would be really fun. So Nitro, the next night, the new WCW tag team champions make their way to the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, WCW proudly brings you its tag team champions of the world. The DAWG, Jesse Armstrong, and the badass Billy Kip, the Outlaws. Billy would go, and if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you. Now the dog would quickly stop him. Billy, 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 I'm sure Turner Networks are going to frown upon you saying F you. Billy, okay, we're here. The dog, so technically 2 words, but I'll allow it. Technically not 2 words, but I'll allow it. So, the WCW Tag Team Champion Goats have arrived, and they're here with your titles on their second night, just to prove it. Well, the WCW music would hit, and Adams and Norton would come out again, stating that they wasn't ready last night, but they're ready tonight, and they want a shot at the titles. So Billy laughs. He tells them, really? Really? The NWO? No wonder. If you're the NWO, no wonder we took back over in the ratings. Good jab. We loved those insiders back then. Armstrong goes, I know, right? Junior varsity, you got it. Quick matchup where the Outlaws once again prevail. Nitro, January 4th, the night of the finger poke of doom. The Outlaws defeat NWO Stevie Ray and Vincent. Now that would have been a fun one. Afterwards, WCW World Champion Kevin Nash and Scott Hall come out. Scott Hall will hit him with the, hey yo, survey time. Did you guys come here to see WCW? Or are you guys here to see the Outlaws join the pack? One more for the good guys. Now Billy would go, are you guys the NWO or are these goons the NWO? Nash would be real quick to tell him, don't judge the NWO by Hogan's B team. After tonight, there will only be one NWO, and that's Wolfpack Red and Black. Now, a mutual friend of ours from up north called and said, you two are pretty sweet. So the offer is officially on the table. You got to the end of the night to answer. In the main event, we get WCW World Champion Kevin Nash with Scott Hall versus Hollywood Hogan. The finger poke of doom, it don't happen now, people. I'm canceling them shits. This is a what if. It's my what if. It's a Halloween edition. Peep the Freddy fit. So we're not going with that BS finger poke of doom. It didn't happen. So he tells Hogan that he's number 1, and this would be a mediocre match. Let's just face it, people. These two would not have had great chemistry. Goldberg would run Hall off from ringside. The Giant and Big Papa Pump would come down to try to help Hogan, but the Outlaws would make the save. Nash picks up the win, and the Outlaws join the Wolfpack because that would just be too sweet. Next week on Nitro, Wolfpack comes out. Nash declares that Hogan's NWO is no more, and it welcomes the new World Outlaws. Hey, we still get an NWO there, people. See what we did there? The only NWO had sold out. They buried all the dead weight and the B-listers. So it sold out for WCW Tag Team Champions of the World. We get the new World Outlaws versus the Giant and Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Now, the Giant looks complacent to start the match. This is when he was doing his little smoking the cigarettes gimmick. I wasn't a big fan of that. But he's still a force. At the end of the match, Big Papa Pump turns on the Giant. The Outlaws double pile drive the Giant for the win. The rest of the Wolfpack come down, welcoming Steiner into the group as they jump Conan and Buff Bagwell. The NWO is now Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Luger, Scott Steiner, and the Outlaws. And this would be where the Giant would leave for the WWF as he would debut the very next month at St. Valentine's Massacre, throwing Stone Cold out of cage, helping Mr. McMahon win the title, or win the match. Goldberg still defeats Scott Hall in a stun gun on a ladder match, people. So let's be honest. This happened. I mean, it just wasn't terrible. It wasn't a bad concept, and considering what happened to Starrcade, it was kind of fun. So we'll allow it. He is now the new #1 contender to Kevin Nash's WCW Championship. On Nitro, the New World Outlaws defeat Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko of the Four Horsemen in a great matchup. Conan would run down with a chair afterwards, and Rey Mysterio Jr. would come down to join him. They challenged the champs for the titles at Super Brawl. At Super Brawl, February 21st, 1999. We get Rey Mysterio and K-Dog versus the WCW Tag Team Champions of the World, the New World Outlaws. We get a great matchup as these two teams would pair up well together. Luger and Miss Elizabeth come down and make their way down and distract Conan as the Outlaws double pile drive on Rey. The Brain would tell Shivani, I think Mysterio just shrunk a few inches shorter. Outlaws for the win. Now later in that night, Scott Steiner would win the TV title from It's DDP. Scott Hall would also win the United States Championship from Roddy Piper. And Kevin Nash would retain the WCW World title from Goldberg when Hollywood Hogan would return and try to help Goldberg, but get him DQ'd. Kevin Nash for the win. He doesn't actually pick up the win, people. It's a DQ. Goldberg still looks strong. Nitro opens up with the NWO coming down with all the gold. We get a great opening promo when Hollywood Hogan comes down and says there's not an NWO without him, and that they're all just generic knockoffs. Even tells Nash that Goldberg should be the champ right now. Well, Goldberg comes down next and tells Hogan he's the only reason he isn't the world champion tonight. The Outlaws clown on Hogan and Goldberg as they argue. President Ric Flair, that's right, people, we had President Ric Flair at the time. He comes down and declares that at Uncensored, the tag team champions of the world will defend against Hollywood Hogan and Bill Goldberg. The NWO would be irate. Flair then informs Nash that he will defend the world title in a steel cage against the Nature Boy, the President Ric Flair. Hogan and Goldberg would win a tag team title, a championship match. They would win a tag match. I'm tongue twisted today, people. I'm sorry. It's Halloween. They would win a tag match as a tune-up against Kurt Hennig and Barry Windham on Thunder. At Uncensored, however, March 14th, 1999, Hogan with a steel pipe would take out U.S. champion Scott Hall. Hogan would look at the camera and say, "One down." Tag team champions, the New World Outlaws versus Hollywood Hogan and Goldberg. We get a surprisingly competitive matchup with Hogan and Goldberg working well together. This will be quite the surprise, people. Billy and the Dog both looking like the main eventers that they are. The Outlaws put the double pile driver on Goldberg, then dance and crotch chop Hogan, just for Goldberg to no-sell, jump up, and spear Billy. Hogan slams Armstrong as Goldberg jackhammers Billy. 1, 2, 3. And new WCW World Tag Team Champions, Hollywood Hogan and Bill Goldberg. Or as Bret Hart would I say, Bill Goldberg. Gotta get show off Bret some love every episode, people. On Nitro, it is announced that Scott Hall was injured by Hogan last night, and he will vacate the U.S. title. An 8-man tournament will begin tonight. Now moving on to Thunder, we get Badass Billy Kid versus Hack in a U.S. Championship tournament match. That's right, people. Man, Sandman got no love in WCW, and it's a damn shame. Badass with the win and the famouser on Hack. On Nitro, the Dog, Jesse Armstrong versus Chris Jericho. He hadn't broke the walls down yet, people. He's still there. In a U.S. tournament match. Great matchup, but Hogan distracts Armstrong for Jericho to get the win. Afterwards, Hogan attacks the Dog with the pipe. One more down. See what he's doing here, people? He escapes with the rest of the NWO coming down to try to make the save. Armstrong is boo-booed up. He's out. At Spring Stampede, April 11th, 1999. In the U.S. Championship title finals, we get Badass Billy Kip versus Badass Billy Kip with Lex Luger, Miss Elizabeth, and Kevin Nash versus Booker T. Booker spends the match fighting uphill. Eventually, the tag champs arrive and chase off Luger and Nash. Miss Elizabeth, however, distracts the ref for Kip to use brass knuckles on Booker for the 1, 2, 3, and new United States champion, Badass Billy Kip. I got that mouthful out. Maybe I just need a swig of coffee for the working man this morning, people. Peep the X-Men cup. I got a couple Halloween mugs, but I got to break them out today. In the main event for the WCW title, it's DDP versus Goldberg versus Hogan versus WCW champion Kevin Nash in a no DQ match. 4-man match for the title with Macho Man Randy Savage as the guest ref. Nash holds his own for a while. Miscommunication amongst the tag champs causing Goldberg to get a diamond cutter. Kip bashes Hogan in the back of the head with the world title, KOing him. Nash jackknifes DDP to retain the title. Now on Nitro, WCW Tag Champions Bill Goldberg and Hulk Hogan versus 4 Horsemen, Chris Benoit, and Dan Malenko. Now, the tag champions are clearly not on the same page after last night, and a masked man hits Bill Goldberg with a pipe, allowing Benoit to pick up the win and the titles on a confused Hogan. The masked man hits Hogan with the pipe then, after the match exits through the crowd. Who is this masked man? On Thunder, it's announced that Hogan has broken ribs and will be out for several weeks. Goldberg accused the 4 Horsemen of taking them out with the pipe and being the masked man. Chaos erupts. At Slamboree, May 9th, 1999, U.S. champion Badass Billy Kip versus Bill Goldberg. Now, the crowd is solidly behind Goldberg. This is actually a good match when Miss Liz comes down and distracts the ref when the masked man nails Goldberg with the pipe. Famouser from Badass on to Goldberg for BA to get the win. Afterwards, the masked man escapes. Billy and Liz celebrate, and Luger comes down, irate, gets all up in Billy's face, and snatches Miss Liz away from Badass Billy Kip. On Nitro, the NWO come out, and Luger and Badass are already instantly beginning to argue over Liz. Steiner throws his hands up in the air, just saying, how the hell with it, I'm out of here. He just leaves, quitting the NWO. The WCW World Champion Kevin Nash tells him to handle this tonight. U.S. title versus Liz's contract. U.S. champ Billy Kip versus Lex Luger with Miss Elizabeth. Now, everybody was always fighting over Miss Liz. She was the first lady of professional wrestling, after all. A lot of posing and gesturing between the two men. 3-star matchup as Luger gets Kip up in the torture rack. Then the masked man nails Luger in the midsection with the pipe. Ref calls for the DQ. Nash comes down and the masked man hits him with the pipe too. Then him and Billy, who has recovered at this point, double pile drive Lex Luger. The man removes his mask to reveal this none other than the dog, Jesse Armstrong. The Outlaws have just quit and ended the NWO Wolfpack. Done, son. Next week on Nitro, oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. Did you think I was just going to go away? I got 1 pound of flesh from all that owed me and wronged me, and now the U.S. title to go with it. The NWO, he spits all over him. Time of death, last week. Hogan and Goldberg, done. The Outlaws are back. Billy, and if you ain't down with that, you know what to do. At the Great American Bash, June 13th, we get the Outlaws helping Macho Man Randy Savage to win the world title off of Kevin Nash. Yeah. Now, Macho at this point, he had kind of revamped his look. He had hit the juice a little bit. He was looking incredible. And I would really love to see Macho get a hell of a lot better run. We all know that he was posed to do so in 2000, and that unfortunately or late 99, and then Standards and Practices stepped in over a little boo-boo angle with Tori Wilson. So maybe that's something we'll cover in another one. Drop a comment below, let me know. On Thunder, we get the Dog, Jesse Armstrong, versus TV champion Rick Steiner in a dog fight. Ho, ho, ho. This will be a fun match as Scott is in Rick's corner and Badass is in Armstrong's corner, teasing the Outlaws versus the Steiners match. Big Papa Pump and Billy get into it in a fight on ringside, and Sting comes down from the rafters and death drops Rick. They had been in the midst of a good feud at this point. And then Armstrong would capitalize, winning the TV title. However, at Bash at the Beach, July 11th, 1999, in a triangle match. Yeah, I never understood why WCW called their triple threats triangle matches. They did for some reason. For the TV championship, we get the champion, Jesse Armstrong, versus Rick Steiner and Sting. Sting and Steiner would be feuding throughout had been feuding for months, so this is kind of pandemonium. Armstrong attempts to escape, but is caught in the middle a couple times. Sting death drops the Dog. Rick nails Sting from behind, stealing the win and the title. Rick Steiner regains the World Television Championship. Quick run for the Dog, but hey, we give him some love. U.S. Champion B.A. Billy Kip versus Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. When Kip is making his entrance to the ring, Goldberg returns and spears Billy in half. And I'm talking about one of these, Braun Breaker type spears. He just wipes him out. Rolls him into the ring. The Big Bad Booty Daddy locks in the Steiner recliner for the W and new champion Scott Steiner. The Outlaws spend the next few months feuding with The Revolution. That was a pretty neat little group back then. I wish they'd got a little more love than what they did. I hate what happened to them, but man. For those of you not familiar, this group will consist of Saturn, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and the franchise Shane Douglas. They would have some great matches at both Road Wild and Fall Brawl. Now, heading into Halloween Havoc, it is announced that we will get a super match at Halloween Havoc for the WCW Tag Team Championships of the world, as we would get Harlem Heat defending their titles against the Outlaws. Now, this would have been an amazing match in 1999, even though you're kind of on the downward slope of what the Harlem Heat had actually been, because, they had both, separated, got back together, but they were still an amazing tag team at this point. In a rare Thunder matchup, we get Badass Billy Kip versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Surprisingly good match. The Dog comes down to help Kip, but Heat runs him off. Stevie tries to clock Badass, but gets Hogan instead, allowing Kip to pick up the win with the one and only, a new movie started using on Hollywood for the 1, 2, 3, and the dub. That's right, people. Badass steals one over Hollywood Hogan. At Halloween Havoc, we get a promo before everything going on with Harlem Heat with Mean Gene Okerlund. Now, that would have always been fun. However, we get WCW Tag Team Champions Harlem Heat versus the Outlaws. We get a 5-star match with two of the all-time greats. Fast-paced matchup when that showcases why both teams are respected worldwide. Booker goes for the hangover, but the Dog dodges and he nails the pump handle slam for the 1, 2, 3. Kip keeps Stevie Ray busy on the outside during all this. And new WCW Tag Team Champions, the Outlaws. On Nitro, WCW TV Champion Rick Steiner versus Billy Kip. Steiner, who was injured, will drop the title and to Kip during the match, making him making him a double champion. After the match, Tori Wilson comes down to align with Billy. The Dog don't seem too happy. You always get distrust when we throw a woman into the mix. Who knew? On WCW.com, it is announced that we will have a 16-man tournament for the vacant WCW Championship, because there was some shenanigans between Hogan and Sting and even Goldberg later in the night at Halloween Havoc. So they vacated the title, where a new champion will be crowned at mayhem. On Thunder in round one action, we get the Dog beating Eddie Guerrero in an amazing match. Now, this would have been fun. We did get a match between these guys in the WWF in a one-off type deal. Pretty damn fun, though. So we're going to slide this over and have it in WCW on Thunder. On Nitro, however, Badass Billy Kip versus Scott Hall, the bad guy, in a round one matchup. Billy has Wilson with him and steals the win over Scott Hall. Kevin Nash comes down and runs Kip off afterwards. Now, if you don't see where we're going with this, Billy has got some wins over some top names here, because Billy was on the rise at the time. He was even in the WWF as he won the King of the Ring Intercontinental Championship. He done some things, folks. At Mayhem, November 21st, 1999. Bret Hitman Hart defeats the Dog, Jesse Armstrong, to advance in the tournament. That would have been a fun match, but it's a no-brainer, people. Chris Benoit would also defeat Billy Kip in a really good match when Kip collides into Armstrong and is placed in the Crippler crossface. Afterwards, Billy and the Dog will get nose-to-nose arguing. Not looking good for the tag team champions. On Nitro, the Outsiders versus the Outlaws for the WCW Tag Team Championships. Wilson is with the Outlaws. Obvious rift between the Dog and Badass. The Outsiders keep Armstrong isolated, but eventually he escapes to make the hot tag when Billy drops off the apron, abandoning Jesse. Hall hits the Razor's Edge onto the Dog, and they regain the Tag Team Championships. Billy and Wilson leave Armstrong laying in the ring, laughing as they go up the ramp. On Nitro, Billy and Tori Wilson would come down and cut a promo stating that Armstrong cost Kip his chance at being the WCW World Champion at Mayhem, and that Armstrong was the dead weight all along that Kip was always carrying. And now he's cutting ties. Tori states that the one, Billy Kip, only needs her. You always only need a woman. This is where the problem lies, folks. The one, Billy Kip versus Sting. We get a really fun matchup here when out of nowhere the Dog blasts Kip. While the ref is distracted, Sting picks up the win. Now, I would say this would be a thing where Sting didn't need the help, but Billy was on the rise at this time, and he had just picked up some solid wins, so this actually looks like a fair assessment. It is announced that at Starrcade, the one Billy Kip will defend his TV championship versus the Dog, Jesse Armstrong, at Starrcade. This will be a fun angle leading into the pay-per-view because these two could really have some back and forth and some good stuff going on. So it's Starrcade, December 19th. 1999. We get WCW TV champion, the one, Billy Kip, with Tori, versus the Dog, Jesse Armstrong, in a no-holds-barred match. Now, Wilson will be suspended in a cage above the ring. Good match back and forth that becomes quickly into a bar fight. Billy goes for the one and only when Armstrong counters with the pump handle slam. 1, 2, and 3/4. Armstrong is in disbelief. Kip tries to fight back, but is still clocked by DDT. Gets clocked by a DDT on a chair for the 1, 2, 3, and new TV champion of the world, the Dog, Jesse Armstrong, making him a 2-time world television champion. Now, how would Billy and Armstrong fare going into 2000 as singles? They've completed 1 year in WCW. They're entering their second, and now they're both singles. Would Jesse align with Sting and stay atop, try to enter into the top epsilon of baby faces? Billy, I feel like he would be a no-brainer to align with the NWO 2000. That was a snake bit angle. So guess what, people? We're saving Bret once again, even in this one right here. Somehow or another, we're going to make something happen to where Goldberg either doesn't have the match with Bret or the kick just doesn't happen. So NWO 2000, it gets to happen. We get Billy Kip and Tori Wilson aligning with them. I can see him regaining the U.S. Championship pretty easy. The next night, where would the Dog end up? Well, what happens, people? Because that's what we ask here on Card Subject to Change. We ask you, what if? Drop some comments below. Let me know what you think. How do you think this would have went? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Where would you have liked to seen it gone into the second season, the second year of their run in WCW? Now, it would be a no-brainer they would return to WWF at some point. Let's just face it. They all go home. Maybe they'd have been a part of the invasion angle once things are bought out a year and a half later. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we got to remember the card is always subject to change.